If you've ever been outside during a snowstorm and felt like something was watching you, these stories should not exist. Winter doesn't just hide the road, it hides people. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true winter horror stories, from snowstorms, cabins, and roads where no one should have survived. This is the first one. Story 1. The snowplow that passed twice. The winter I'm about to tell you about was the kind that makes everything feel smaller. The sky stayed low and gray for weeks. The sun showed up like a rumor, thin, pale, gone before you remembered it was there. Snowbanks grew into walls along the roads, and the world started to look like a maze built out of ice. I was living in a small town in northern Michigan back then. Not tourist cute, not Hallmark movie charming, just a real place where people worked at the paper mill, the hospital, the school district, and where winter wasn't a season. It was a rule. I was a night dispatcher for a towing company. The work was boring until it wasn't. Most nights it was jump starts and locked keys and the occasional ditch rescue. But when the lake effect snow hit hard, everything changed. Cars disappeared off the road like they'd been swallowed. People called crying, freezing, sometimes bleeding. And you learned quickly that you couldn't afford to assume someone was being dramatic. One night in late January, the snow started at 6 p.m. and never stopped. By midnight, the town was muffled so completely, it felt like someone had put a heavy blanket over it. Even the highway noise faded. The only sound was the wind pushing snow across the empty streets and the distant scrape of plows. At 1:12 a.m., a call came in from a number I didn't recognize. The voice was a man's, older, strained. "Yeah," he said. "I'm stuck. I slid off County Road 9. I can see the reflector posts, but I can't get back on the road. I'm not far from the old quarry entrance." County Road 9 wasn't far, but it was isolated. Forest on both sides, long straight stretches with no houses. The old quarry entrance was a landmark locals knew, mostly because it was where teenagers went to drink and break stuff. I asked the standard questions. Any injuries? Any passengers? Is the car running? "Car's running," he said, "but I keep seeing headlights behind me." "Other cars?" I asked, glancing at the weather alerts on my screen. "No one should be out there right now." "It's a plow," he said. "I can hear it. It passed me already." That sounded normal. Plows ran all night. But then he added, "It passed me, and then it passed again." I paused. "What do you mean?" "It went by," he said, his voice thin, and I watched it turn around. But the road is blocked. There's nowhere to turn around. It just did. It came back the other way. I pictured a plow doing a 3-point turn in the snow. It wasn't impossible. "Okay," I said, keeping my tone calm. "Stay in the car. Help is on the way. What kind of vehicle are you in?" He hesitated. "Gray SUV. What's your name, sir?" Another pause. "Dennis." "All right, Dennis. I'm sending a truck. You have your hazards on?" "Yes." I radioed our closest driver, Jake, who lived out near that side of town. He grunted a confirmation and headed out. 10 minutes later, the caller was still on the line. I could hear his breathing, and beneath it, a low grinding sound. "It's coming again," he whispered. "The plow?" "Yes, it's close. It's slowing down." I leaned forward in my chair. "Dennis, you're safe in your vehicle. Plow operators aren't going to hurt you, okay? They may be trying to check if you need help." "It's not stopping like that," he said. Then I heard it through the phone, a deeper metallic groan, like heavy machinery shifting weight. "Dennis?" I said. "What do you see?" I can see it in my mirrors, he whispered. It's right behind me. But the lights are wrong. The headlights are too high, and I can't see any markings. No town logo, no reflective tape. My skin prickled, and I hated myself for it. I've heard enough fear over a phone line to know the difference between panic and storytelling. This wasn't a guy trying to spook me. He sounded like he was trying not to sob. Can you describe the plow? I asked. It's like a big black shape, he said. Like it's not painted, it's just dark. And the plow blade, it's not pushing snow. It's riding above the snow like it's not touching it. That made no sense. Dennis, I said firmly, don't get out. Lock your doors. Jake is on his way. A long pause. Then very quietly, Dennis said, "It passed me again." "How?" I whispered before I could stop myself. "It went by on the left," he said, "like it was on the road. But there is no road on my left. It's a snowbank and trees." My mouth went dry. I glanced at the clock. 1:31 a.m. "Dennis," I said, "keep your eyes forward. Don't watch it. Just stay in the car." He made a sound like he was trying to swallow something sharp. "It's turning." "What?" "It's turning around," he said. "It's facing me now." I heard the grinding get louder, closer. Then something else like a soft tapping. "Dennis, are you hearing that?" "That's the blade," he whispered. "It's tapping my bumper." I felt my chest tighten. A plow operator would never touch a stranded vehicle with the blade. It could rip the bumper off. It could kill someone. They were trained not to. "Dennis, flash your high beams," I said quickly. "Make yourself visible." "I did," he said, voice breaking. It didn't react. Then his breathing changed. Fast, shallow, terrified. It's lowering the blade." "Dennis," I said, my voice sharp now. "Listen to me. If it touches your vehicle, lay on the horn, constantly. Do you understand?" "Yes," he said. The grinding became a heavy, slow scrape. And then suddenly, silence. No wind, no scraping, no breathing. "Dennis," I said. A beat. Then Dennis's voice came back, but it sounded farther away, like he'd put the phone down on the seat. "It's right in front of me," he said, very softly. "I can't see anything except headlights. And the windshield is frosting over. That's normal and cold." "No," he cut in. "It's frosting from the outside, like something is breathing on it." I froze. "Dennis!" "I can see writing," he whispered, "on the frost." My throat tightened. "What does it say?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "It says, move." A horn suddenly exploded through the phone, loud and continuous. Dennis was leaning on it. I heard him shout, "Stop! Stop!" Then a sound like metal slamming into metal. The call cut. For a second, I stared at the deadline like it had betrayed me. I called back immediately. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. I grabbed the radio. "Jake, update! Where are you?" Static. Then Jake's voice, breathless. "I'm on County 9. Visibility's garbage. I'm near the quarry turnoff." "Do you see a gray SUV?" I said. Another pause. "No," he said. There's nothing out here but drifts." My stomach sank. "Keep going." Slowly. "I can't," he said. "There's a plow blocking the road." Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. "Town plow? Can you get around it?" Jake hesitated. "It's not marked," he said. "No logo, no reflective tape." My blood went cold. "It's just sitting there," Jake continued, voice lowered. "And the driver's cabin is empty." I felt the hair on my arms lift. "Jake," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Turn around. Now." "What about the stranded car?" "There is no car," I said, and hated how sure I sounded. Jake swallowed audibly over the radio. Copy. A minute later, he came back on. I'm turning around. I swear to God the plow moved. In what way? It's behind me now, he said. What? I didn't pass it, he said, voice shaking. It's behind me, and I can see headlights. They're too high. I stood up so fast my chair rolled back. Jake, do not stop. Drive to the nearest lit area. Lay on the horn if you have to. The line went quiet for a few seconds. I could hear Jake breathing hard. Then he said, Dispatch. It's not making any sound. Plows are loud, I whispered. I know, he said. This one isn't. I held my breath. Then, faintly, I heard a different noise through Jake's radio, like something scraping over ice in a slow, patient rhythm. Not the sound of snow being pushed, the sound of metal being dragged. Jake's voice cracked. It's lowering the blade. Go, I shouted. Go, now! He didn't answer. The scraping stopped, and then Jake whispered, There's writing on my rear window. I felt sick. What does it say? Jake swallowed. Move! The radio cut out in a burst of static. For 30 seconds I sat there, frozen, listening to the empty channel. Then Jake's voice came back, sudden and loud. I'm out! I'm out! His truck engine roared. Jake! I shouted. I drove straight through a drift, he gasped. I didn't care. I'm on the highway now. I see lights. I see other cars. It's gone. I exhaled, so seen to the bone that my hands shook. What about the SUV? I asked. Jake went quiet. Dispatch, he said slowly. There was no fresh tire track off the road. Nothing. Like no one slid off tonight. I stared at my call log. The number that had called me was now listed as no caller ID. I checked the recorded line. The recording existed, time stamp, duration, everything. But when I played it back, it was only silence. No voice, no words, just a faint scraping sound. And, at the end, barely audible something like a man whispering right into the microphone. Move. Story 2. The Cabin with No Footprints. I used to think snow made places quieter, cleaner, safer somehow. Like it erased problems along with tracks and tire marks. That winter taught me how wrong I was. This happened in late February in northern Wisconsin, near a cluster of small lakes that freeze solid by December and don't fully thaw until April. My cousin Mark owned a small cabin out there. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, a wood stove, an old couch that smelled faintly of smoke and pine cleaner. Mark let me use it whenever I wanted, as long as I respected one rule. If a storm comes in, don't leave the cabin at night. I always thought that was about roads. Ice. Whiteout conditions. I didn't realize it was about something else. The forecast said light snow. By sundown, it was anything but. The sky went that strange, solid white color. Not cloudy, not dark, just empty. Snow fell in thick, steady sheets, and the wind pushed it sideways so hard, it looked like it was being poured from buckets. I arrived just before dark, parked beside the cabin, and watched my tire tracks start to vanish almost immediately. That should have been my first warning. I spent the evening like anyone would. Started the fire, made soup, listened to the radio crackle in and out as the storm intensified. Around 9 p.m., the station went silent completely. No emergency alert, no weather updates, just static. I texted Mark to let him know I'd arrived safely. Me. Made it. Storm's getting bad. Mark. Good. Stay inside tonight. Me. Of course. At 10:30, the power flickered once it was, then stayed on. At 11:12 p.m., I heard something outside. It wasn't loud. That was what scared me. Just 3 slow knocks on the front door. Knock. 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 Not urgent. Not panicked. Patient. I froze on the couch, spoon halfway to my mouth. Nobody should have been out there. The nearest cabin was over a mile away, and the road was barely passable even with a plow. I told myself it could be a neighbor in trouble. Someone stranded. I stood up and moved toward the door, peering through the small window. All I saw was white. Snow swirling, thick and close to the glass. I flipped on the porch light. The beam cut through the snow and revealed nothing. No person. No shadow. Just snow piling against the steps. I looked down automatically. The porch was clean. No footprints. Not a single one. My heart started to beat faster. The knock came again. This time, closer to the glass. Knock. Knock. I stepped back. "Hello?" I called, my voice sounding thin. No answer. Just the wind. And then, something softer. A sound like fingers brushing lightly against wood. Dragging. I backed away from the door and grabbed my phone. No signal. Not even emergency bars. That's when I remembered Mark's rule. Don't leave the cabin at night. At 11:20 p.m., the knocking stopped. For a while, everything was quiet again except the storm. I sat on the couch, fire popping softly, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. Then I heard a voice. It came from outside, muffled by the door and the snow. "Hey," it said. A man's voice. Calm, familiar somehow. "I know you're in there." My stomach dropped. "Please," the voice continued. "I just need to warm up for a minute." I stood frozen. The voice was wrong in a way I couldn't explain. Not distorted, not threatening, just flat. Like someone reading lines without emotion. "I can see your light," it said. I slowly turned off the lamp beside the couch. The voice paused. Then it said softly, "That's not very nice." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I backed toward the bedroom, careful not to make noise. As I moved, I glanced toward the side window. The snow there was thinner. And for just a second, when the wind shifted, I saw a shape standing near the tree line. Tall. Still. Too far away to make out details. Too close to ignore. I closed the bedroom door and locked it. I stayed in the bedroom until morning. I didn't sleep. The voice spoke occasionally through the night. Never yelling. Never demanding. Just commenting. "It's colder now. You should keep the fire going. You're wasting heat back there." Once, around 2 a.m., it said, "You didn't lock the back door." My heart nearly stopped. I hadn't checked the back door when I arrived. I held my breath, listening. The storm raged on. No footsteps, no doors opening. At dawn, the snow slowed. The world went eerily quiet, the kind of silence that feels louder than sound. When daylight finally filled the cabin, I opened the bedroom door and crept into the living room. Everything looked normal. I grabbed my coat and cracked open the front door. The porch was buried under fresh snow, untouched. I stepped out carefully, scanning the ground. There were my footprints from the night before, half-filled, soft-edged. There were tire tracks where I'd parked, but there was nothing else. No footprints leading to the door, no tracks near the windows, no signs that anyone had stood outside all night knocking and talking. I felt dizzy. I checked the back door. It was locked. I don't remember locking it. As soon as I got a signal, I called Mark. He answered immediately. "You okay?" he asked. "I think someone was outside the cabin last night," I said. Knocking. Talking. There was a long pause. "Did you open the door?" he asked. "No." "Did you go outside?" "No." Another pause. Longer. "Did it leave footprints?" "No," I whispered. Mark exhaled slowly. That's why I told you not to leave, he said. And why I told you to stay inside. What was it? I asked. I don't know, he said. But it's happened before. He told me about the previous winter, a woman staying alone during a storm. She heard knocking. She opened the door. Search teams found her 2 days later, less than 100 yards from the cabin. No coat, no shoes, and no footprints leading away. Just a body in the snow, frozen in place, like she'd stopped walking, like she'd been told to. Before I left, I packed quickly. As I grabbed my bag, something caught my eye near the door, scratched into the wood. Not deep, not fresh, just faint enough to notice in the morning light. 4 words. I waited all night. I never went back to that cabin. But every winter, when the snow starts falling hard and the world goes quiet, I remember the sound of those knocks. Not desperate, not angry, just patient, waiting for someone to open the door. Story 3. The last bus through whiteout. The last bus of the night wasn't supposed to be full. That's what everyone said afterward. It ran only twice a day in winter, once in the morning, once at night, connecting a handful of small towns scattered across northern Minnesota. Most people drove. Only those without cars, or those who didn't have another option, took the bus. That night, the storm erased every other option. I remember standing at the bus stop just after 9 p.m., watching the snow fall so hard it blurred the streetlights into glowing white smudges. The wind pushed it sideways, filling my boots and collar, and every breath burned. The electronic sign flickered. Last bus on time. I almost laughed. Nothing was on time in that weather. The bus arrived anyway, its headlights cutting through the whiteout like 2 dull eyes. It hissed to a stop, doors opening with a tired sigh. The driver looked exhausted. Middle-aged, heavy jacket, knit cap pulled low. "You riding all the way through?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He nodded slowly. "All right. Take a seat. Might be a long one." Inside, the bus was warmer than I expected. Too warm. The windows fogged instantly, turning the outside world into a blank, moving canvas of white. There were more people than I thought there'd be, maybe 8 or 9 passengers. They sat quietly. No talking, no phones, no earbuds. That should have been the first sign. The road we pulled away from the stop, and within minutes the town disappeared. Just dark trees and endless snow beyond the windows. The bus rocked as the wind hit it broadside. Snow slammed into the glass like handfuls of gravel. I tried to distract myself by watching the road, but after a while, it became impossible to tell where the pavement ended and the ditch began. Everything was just white and gray, merging together. About 15 minutes in, the bus slowed. The driver leaned forward, squinting. "Shouldn't be stopping here," he muttered. The bus came to a halt. I looked out the window. Nothing. No intersection. No lights. No buildings. Just snow and trees. The door opened. Cold air rushed in, sharp and painful. No one stood outside. The driver frowned, checked his mirrors, then shut the door again. The bus moved on. Behind me, someone whispered, "He's early." I turned, but no one met my eyes. The first passenger off 10 minutes later, the bus slowed again. This time, a bell chimed softly. A man stood up from the middle row, tall, thin, wearing a coat that looked too light for the storm. He walked to the front, nodded once to the driver, and stepped off into the whiteout. I leaned toward the window, expecting to see him disappear down a side road or into the trees. Instead, he vanished the moment his feet hit the ground. Not walked away. Vanished. Like the snow swallowed him whole, I waited for footprints to appear. They didn't. The bus pulled away. No one reacted. No one spoke. Wrong stops at the next stop, a woman got off. Then another. Each time the bus stopped where there was nothing but snow. Each time the door opened. Each time the passenger stepped out and disappeared. I started counting. By the fourth stop, there were only 3 of us left. Me, an older woman near the front, and a teenage boy in a hoodie near the back. The driver's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "You okay up there?" I asked, forcing my voice to sound casual. He didn't look back. "This route doesn't have this many stops," he said quietly. "Maybe dispatch rerouted you?" I suggested. "No," he said. "These aren't stops." My stomach tightened. The bus slowed again. The bell rang. The teenage boy stood. As he walked past me, I noticed something that made my breath catch. His shoes were completely dry. No snow. No slush. Like he'd never been outside. He stepped off the bus. Gone. The question, only 2 of us left now. I leaned toward the older woman. "Do you know what's happening?" I whispered. She didn't look at me. "I've been on this bus before," she said. My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "Not like this," she said, "but close." The bus slowed again. The bell chimed. The driver slammed his hand against the dashboard. "No," he said out loud. "Not yet." The woman stood. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired, not scared, resigned. "It stops when it's full," she said. "What fills it?" I asked. She smiled sadly. "You'll see." She stepped off. Gone. Just when the bus continued on with just the driver and me. The whiteout outside was complete now. No sense of movement, no landmarks, just endless snow. The driver finally spoke. "They're not supposed to be on this route," he said. "Not this early." "Who are they?" I asked. "People who didn't make it home," he said. "People caught in storms, cars in ditches, walkers who got lost." My hands trembled. "Then why am I here?" He glanced at me in the mirror. "Because you got on," he said. The bus slowed. The bell rang. My chest tightened. "No," the driver said firmly. "This one's still warm." The bus lurched forward. The bell rang again. Louder. Persistent. "Why is it ringing?" I asked. The driver swallowed. "Because it thinks you're ready." The bus slowed anyway. The doors hissed open. Cold air flooded in. I felt it pull at me. Not physically, but like gravity shifting. I stood up without meaning to. "No," I whispered. The driver shouted, "Sit down!" I fought it, grabbing the seat, heart hammering. The bell rang again, then stopped. The doors closed. The bus surged forward. I collapsed into the seat, gasping. The driver breathed out slowly. "Next town," he said. "That's where you get off. Don't miss it." The final stop lights appeared ahead. Real lights. Street lights. Houses. The bus slowed, turned, and pulled into a familiar stop. The door opened. I stood, legs shaking. Before I stepped off, I looked back. The bus was empty. No fogged windows, no warmth, just rows of cold, silent seats. I stepped onto the road. The door closed behind me. The bus pulled away and vanished into the snow. Afterward, the next morning, the news talked about the storm. Cars found in ditches, searches called off, people still missing. They mentioned a bus that ran late. They said the driver reported passengers who weren't on the manifest. They said it was probably shock, hypothermia, confusion. I never took that route again. But every winter, when the snow comes down hard and the buses run late, I think about that bell. Ringing. Patient. Waiting for the bus to be full again.